Hi guys, welcome to my channel! My name is Grace, and this behind me is my TBR shelf. Okay, technically I know, it's a TBR pile, but it's a TBR pile on a shelf, so I'm going with it, okay? TBR, for you guys that are kind of new to BookTube, means to be read. So these behind me on this shelf are all the books that I own that I haven't read yet that maybe I can get to this year, hoping to get to this year, or at least hoping to get to soon. So I'm going to tell you about all these books, why I think they're interesting, why I want to read them, maybe a little bit about what they're about, if I know what they're about. I have a feeling this is going to end in a giant avalanche. Okay, before I even talk about those, let me highlight these two. I'm in the middle of reading Artemis by Andy Weir right now, so it is kind of still sitting over here on my desk. So there's that one. And then this is the very next book that I want to read, Kiss of Deception, after Artemis. So it is also sitting on my desk. I pulled it out of the massive pile, and it's the book that's next in the queue, so it just kind of sits there so that as soon as I finish Artemis I can get to it. Okay, so I think I'm gonna start by removing all the knickknacks. You guys don't need to see all my crazy knickknacks, do you? I know a lot of times when you guys do bookshelf videos, you show all the crazy knickknacks and you talk about them, but since I have more of like a TBR pile as opposed to a TBR shelf, I don't know what you guys want to see, but there's Space Marines. Anyway, that's from Warhammer if you guys don't know what I'm talking about. If you guys don't know what Space Marines are, that's okay. I have so many steampunk goggles, you guys. All right, oh, let's get this off the top. All right. So, I am going to try to do this without getting buried under a massive pile of books. I don't know how well that's gonna work though. I have concerns for my life. I'm afraid it's all just gonna fall and be like a big massive avalanche. Anyway, we'll start with these. So I have 3 copies of the same book because every single one of my family members gave me the same book for Christmas this year, 2018 Christmas, and I don't quite know what to do with them. I'm gonna read one of them, and I was thinking about like donating the other 2 or maybe doing a giveaway or something, but like it's kind of awkward to be like, oh, hi mom, the giveaway that I just did, that was the book you gave me for Christmas. So I don't know what I'm gonna do with them. But it's Brightly Burning by, I think, Alexa somebody. Anyway, it's about, all I heard was like there's like a spaceship, and it's a spaceship and there's like a library on a spaceship maybe. I don't know. It sounded really interesting. It takes place in outer space on a spaceship, so I was immediately interested. This is the hardback copy of it. I think the paperback is prettier than the hardback, so I think I'm going to keep the paperback, and I don't know what I'm going to do with the hardbacks, but we'll see. This video could literally be forever. Yeah. Okay, so Stormfront by Jim Butcher. I read the Codex Alera by Jim Butcher, and oh my god, it's like one of my favorite fantasy series of all time. I love the Codex Alera so much. And this is like the first book in his next series, the Dresden Files, and so I'm actually super interested in reading it. I haven't gotten to it yet. Obviously, it's on the TBR shelf. But I'm super interested, and I love Jim Butcher. I love his writing. I've heard that people either they love the Codex Alera and they hate the Dresden Files, or they love the Dresden Files and they hate the Codex Alera. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to love this or not, but I really love the Codex Alera, so I want to try something else by Jim Butcher too. Of course, Spinning Silver by Naomi Novak. I will get to this very soon. The first book in is this the Nevermore series? or no, it's the Trials of Morgan Crow series, Nevermore. Isn't this so beautiful? I love this cover. It's just so magical and beautiful, and maybe soon I'll get to it. We'll see. I feel like I'm gonna say maybe soon I'll get to it for every single book. Okay, Seraphina and the Twisted Staff. So I read Seraphina and the Cloak, the something cloak, Seraphina and the I don't remember, the first one. And I liked it, and then I grabbed the second one, and then it just kind of sat there. I haven't picked up book number 2 yet. I'm hoping to, though, one of these days. It's not at the top of my, like, I want to read this right now list, though. So, we'll see. Queen's Poisoner. This is the first book in a series. Sounded really interesting. I think it's about this kid who has to go to this other land and live there, this other kingdom, and live there because his dad committed some crime. I don't know. And then he grows up, this kid grows up in this other kingdom. It sounded really unique and interesting. And I think he grows up throughout the series. And it's high fantasy, so it sounded great. Sleeping Giants by wow. I don't know how to say that. But I've heard so much about the sleep. It's like a whole series. It's the Themis Files. And I think it's an epistolary. It's told kind of like Illuminae. It's told in letters and maybe, is it? I don't know. All I heard was it's like epistolary style. So I really don't know what that looks like, but for this particular book. But I'm super interested, and I loved Illuminae, which is an epistolary style. So yeah, and this is science fiction about, I think it's about a robot, giant robot buried underground, maybe? Aliens buried underground. There's some giant thing that they wake up. Anyway, it sounds really good and exciting though, and I know a lot of you guys like it, so. Sky in the Deep, Vikings, high fantasy-esque, a girl. I'm not going to tell you what it's about. Vikings, though. Enchantment of Ravens! I grabbed this when everybody else did, right after the Court of Thorns and Roses series by Sarah J. Maas wrapped up, and that one was all about fae, and then this one was about fae, and I was like, I just need more fae stories in my life! So, like, I grabbed it, and then I realized it probably wasn't going to be anything like A Court of Thorns and Roses, and so it just kind of sat on my shelf. But like I just kind of went off of that, like the fae high that you get after The Court of Thorns and Roses, and grabbed another fae book, and am super excited to read it one day, even though I know I can't compare it to A Court of Thorns and Roses. I don't think that's fair, and so I kind of want to read it when I'm not trying to compare it to Sarah J. Maas. But it sounds really good. Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. Of course. Brandon Sanderson wrote a sci-fi novel, like a legit, like outer spacey space pilot sci-fi novel. Oh my god. I can't even wait to read this. Oh, I'm so excited. It's so beautiful. Like this cover. Oh, I love it so much. Anyway, this is like one of those that I'm like, I have to get to this right now, but I have so many books that I'm like, I have to get to this. So I'm super stoked. I can't even wait. It's Brandon Sanderson. It's science fiction. Come on. Oh my god, I'm so excited. Alright. Yeah. Hang on, let me dust it off. That one's on the, kind of dusty. Alright. I'll Reaper at the Gates. Okay, so I read An Ember in the Ashes and A Torch Against the Night, and I loved An Ember in the Ashes. Okay, it was so good, so I went out and like bought the others, and these covers are so beautiful. And then I read A Torch Against the Night, and I was just kind of like, okay. And then I never went on to finish it. I never read A Reaper at the Gates. So, here's the first two if you want to see those. Anyway, yeah, hopefully I'll pick it up. I don't really have a desire, though. At this point in time, I don't have a desire to finish this series and read the last book. But one of these days I do hope to, because the covers are so beautiful, and An Ember in the Ashes was so good. And I know Reagan from Peruse Project like did a reading vlog where she read all of them, and she said they were all so good and she loved them all. So maybe I'll get to this. And you know, I can't really judge this by a torch against the night because the middle book in a series is always kind of meh, isn't it? Sometimes well, I don't know. I feel like it'll be okay if I pick this up one of these days. I want to, I'm going to. It might sit up there for another year though, guys. I don't know, we'll see. Hollow City. Okay, so it says $2 up there. I actually found this in a free book bin. So I read the first one, Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom Riggs. I read that one. I loved the first half of it. But the second half of it fell kind of flat for me, and I didn't like the second half of it. And I wasn't even going to go on and continue with the series. But then I found this in a free book bin, and I was like, okay, well, if Hollow City is just for free, I might as well grab it. Because I know I've read the first one, and I might want to continue it one of these days, I don't know. So I grabbed it, and I don't know, we'll see. We'll see if I ever have the motivation to pick it up. Okay, these are some graphic novels that is killing me to not read right now, okay? However, Rat Queens and Spider-Gwen. But I want to do like a reading vlog where I read like a whole bunch of graphic novels in one weekend, and I just see how many graphic novels I can cram into like this one Saturday or maybe this one weekend. And so I'm just trying to collect like as many as I can for that reading vlog. But like, I want to read these, and I have some more on my other shelf. I need to reread through Saga. And there's like, because I read through like the first half of Saga, but then I never finished it and read the second half of Saga. So I want to finish Saga, and then I want to read like a bunch of others. And oh my god, though, it's killing me. It's killing me to not pick these up because like, I am so interested in Spider-Gwen. I'm so excited to read this. And Rat Queens. I love Dungeons & Dragons, you guys. I freaking love Dungeons & Dragons. My friends and I, we play Dungeons & Dragons. We're all nerdy gamer people. And this just looks so D&D. I can't even handle not picking this up like right now. But I will wait. I'm gonna wait as long as I can and collect as many graphic novels as I can and then read them all at once. I think it's gonna be amazing. Okay, how are we doing? Oh, yeah, I have Truth Witch. I don't have any excuses for not reading this yet. I really want to. It's obviously right there on my TBR shelf. I want to read it. There's just no excuses for this one. I'm sorry, guys. I love you, Susan Denard. I love you. I'm sorry I haven't read your book yet. But I want to, and I have plans to. I definitely have plans to. Alright. Where are we going from here? Alright. Daughter of the Pirate King. Wolf by Wolf by Ryan Groudon. I really want to read The Walled City, too, by Ryan Groudon. And, yeah. But I want to start with Wolf by Wolf. See where that goes. Okay. The Girl Who Circumvented Fairyland in a Ship of Her Own Making. Now, this one was actually popular a little while ago. However, I picked it up and I read like the first maybe 2 chapters and then I DNF'd it. I think I just wasn't in the mood at the time. But it's so cute and pretty and fun. But I did DNF it. And I just put it back on the TBR shelf, and I was like, maybe when I'm in more of a whimsical mood. I think it had a very whimsical beginning, and I think I was expecting more of a, I don't know, it wasn't exactly what I was expecting. But I still really want to read it, and it still really, really intrigues me. Like, even just the title, like, The Girl Who Circumvented Fairyland in a Ship of Her Own Making. Like, heck yes. That sounds so interesting. And there's more books in the series, so I want to pick it up. I do. I have to be in the right mood for it, I think, and I just haven't been there yet. Okay. Oh my god, The Disasters by M.K. England. This is a newer one that I picked up, and dude, I'm gonna read this next month. Like, I can't wait. Like, I can't wait. This is gonna be a blast. Okay, the tagline is, "Space is hard, grab a helmet." Like, as soon as I saw it and read it, just the tagline, I started laughing my head off. So, space is hard, grab a helmet. Oh my god. I can't even. Like, I can't even. I might do a reading vlog just for this because I'm so excited about it. next month, I'm gonna pick this up. The Hate You Give. So the thing about me is I really love science fiction and fantasy, and I grab contemporaries because I think I'm going to read them, and then they end up sitting on my TBR shelf for a year. Because when I go to grab a book, if I have a contemporary or if I have a science fiction novel, I'm probably going to grab the sci-fi or the fantasy novel and leave the contemporary on the shelf. So I have poor contemporaries that have been sitting on my shelf for years and have not gotten the love that they deserve. Because I think that this book actually deserves a lot of love. But I will get to it. I have plans to get to it. I typically grab fantasy or sci-fi before I grab contemporary though. But yeah, anyway, so there's that. So I am excited to get to this. I really want to get to it. A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. I've heard so much about this book, and it looks really funny. I don't know if it's gonna be funny, but it's science fiction, takes place on a spaceship, looks really creative. It looks kind of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy-esque. I don't think it's gonna be Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy-esque, but that's just kind of what the cover reminds me of. I'm super excited to read it though. Alright. Blue Lily, Blue, and The Raven King. So I read the first two, The Dream Thieves and The Raven Boys, in the Raven Cycle, like last year. And I want to continue, but I didn't have like a strong desire to continue. So these are still sitting on my shelf, but I do plan to get to them soon. They're just not at the top of my TBR list, but they're on my TBR list and they're on my shelf. So I do really want to read them. I'm super interested to see where this series goes. Especially this cover. Isn't this the most beautiful cover you've ever seen? I don't know. I think it's super intriguing. Alright, where are we at? Oh! The Upside of Unrequited by Becky Albertalli. Okay, I loved Simon versus the Homo sapiens agenda. I loved that book so much, and I don't even really like contemporary that much. So the fact that I loved that book was like saying a lot. So I went out and grabbed this book as soon as I finished reading Simon, and then it sat on my shelf for like a year because I don't read contemporary that much. But I really want to get to it, and I'm really excited, and maybe it might be a fun summer read. Typically I try and read contemporary like in the summer, maybe this summer, we'll see. I am excited to read it though, one of these days. The Demon King by Cinda Williams-Chima. I have heard so much about Cinda Williams-Chima and all of her books, and all of her series upon series upon series, and even like series that are based on these series, and I don't know. I need to start. I want to jump into the Cinda Williams-Chima world, and this is the first book. I haven't gotten there yet, but I have plans. I have plans. It's definitely on my radar. Golden Sun. So this is the second book in the Red Rising series. So I read Red Rising, and I liked it. I really enjoyed it. But then I have a friend who read Red Rising and then went on to read Golden Sun, and she went into this crazy reading slump after Golden Sun. She had like a 6-month reading slump or something like that, and she's just like, oh my god, that book just destroyed me, like I couldn't pick up another book for 6 months after that, and like she's just like raving about like how hard it was to read, and even like how crazy the ending was and things like that. And so I was like, wow, okay. So I wanted, but she did eventually pick up Morning Star and then keep reading the series. But since she had such a crazy reaction to it, I have kind of been a little spooked on picking this one up. Because I'm like, I don't want to have a 6-month reading slump, you guys, I don't know. So I just kind of left this one on my shelf after I read Red Rising. But I do want to pick it up, and I do want to go on to Morning Star and finish the series. But maybe later. I'm a little scared of this one now. Okay, so these next two books, alright, these are some of my husband's favorite books that he really wants me to read. and so he stuck them on my TBR shelf. This is Hood by Stephen Lawhead, and this is another Stephen Lawhead book. It's called The Paradise War, and I think these were like some of his favorite books when he was growing up reading. And I have told him that I will read them because they're his favorites. I'll accept they're not on my personal radar, really, and I haven't seen any like reviews on these. I've actually seen a few reviews on Hood, and you guys haven't really liked it that much. But my husband loves them, so I feel like I should pick them up. Just to see what, you know, I feel like I should. Yeah, I don't know. I will pick them up eventually. Let me see. Alright, guys. I'm so far behind in my Rick Riordan reading. I literally, I don't even... Yeah, I read the first Percy Jackson series, and I loved it. It was so good. And I went out, and I think this is the next book in the next series. I went out and grabbed it, and then school got busy, and then life got busy, and I didn't end up reading it. And actually, I think maybe I read it like a little. I think maybe I read parts of it. I don't know. And then I just never continued, and it makes me really sad because I love Rick Riordan, and I really want to continue with his books, but I haven't gotten there in my life yet. But one of these days, I'm gonna pick up Rick Riordan and just like fly through everything he's ever written because he deserves it, and he's a really good writer. Okay. So this is the final book in the School for Good and Evil series. I read the first two in that series, and I liked them. They were a little slow for me, and I kind of lost my interest in the series at that point after the second one. But like the whole concept of this series is super interesting. It's about two girls in this world, you get picked to go to a magic school, and either you go to the villain school or you go to the princess school. And the Agatha, this girl, thinks that she's evil and thinks that she's going to the villain school, but she ends up getting sent to the princess school. And then her best friend, Sophie, thinks that she's pretty and that she's a princess and that she should go to the princess school, but she actually gets sent to the villain school. So they kind of end up switching places. And the whole concept of this series was super intriguing to me, and I loved the first book, and I kind of liked the second book, and then I kind of lost steam. But maybe one day I'll pick it up. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe my future children will like it and pick it up, and so somebody in my house will hopefully read it one day. So I'm gonna keep it around. It might sit on my TBR shelf for a while though, because I did kind of lose interest in this series, but I love the concept of it. It was really good. It was a good idea. It really was a good idea for a series. Alright. This is a box set of The Song of the Lioness by Tbr Pierce. Let me see if I can get them out of the box here. Alright. This is the first book. Okay, so I really want to pick up everything Tbr Pierce has ever written, ever. But I have not started on anything. I think this is the first series, and then it goes on to like the Wild Magic series, and then it keeps going to other things. And I think Tbr Pierce is still writing books. Probably. I think I've heard that she is. Anyway, so this is Alana, the First Adventurer. And then the next one is Lioness Rampant. And then this is The Woman Who Rides Like a Man. And then, oh, isn't this cat face cool? This is In the Hands of the Goddess. So I want to pick up all of these books. Have not gotten to it, but maybe this summer. They seem more, they're fantasy. I think they're about a girl who has to pretend to be a guy, and in order to be a knight or something, or no, in order to learn magic. I don't know. So interesting. I thought it was a very interesting concept. Okay. This is a book I got at a writing thing that I went to. Classic Guide to Writing Nonfiction. The thing is, I don't write nonfiction. I don't even write contemporary. I love spaceships and dragons way too much to write nonfiction. I love to write though, and I write a lot of science fiction and fantasy stuff. So I don't know. I haven't read this yet. Maybe one day I'll pick it up. One day I'll decide to try my hand at nonfiction, but we'll see. I have way too many science fiction fantasy ideas first. Maybe I'll read this one day. We'll see. All right. Oh, this one. Okay. This one. The Slow Regard of Silent Things by Patrick Rothfuss. This is a companion novel to The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss, and The Name of the Wind and the Wise Man's Fear by Patrick Rothfuss. This follows Ari and the Underthing, which is like this whole network of tunnels like under the university and under the city, in The Name of the Wind and the Wise Man's Fear. So, oh my gosh, you guys, I have so many questions about the Underthing and what it is and what goes on down there, and like, oh my god, I just have so many questions and I have so many theories, and about even Ari and how she got there and why she's there, and I don't know, it's just so interesting and so intriguing. However, okay, since book 3 of the Kingkiller Chronicles we don't have a release date, I am waiting on this. I want to read it so bad, and I love Name of the Wind and I love The Wise Man's Fear. And I have so many questions and so many theories, and I feel like this is going to answer some of them. But, since we don't have a release date for book 3 and it's been like 5 years, I'm so nervous. This is like the last Patrick Rothfuss book that I have right now, and that we have out in the world, and I just want to savor it and I want to leave it on my shelf. And maybe when we have a release date for book 3, like, I'll pick it up and I'll read A Slow Regard of Silent Things. Or maybe like next year, if we still don't have a release date, I'll just read A Slow Regard of Silent Things. But I know, Patrick Rothfuss, finish your books. But yeah, anyway, I think Name of the Wind is literally my favorite book of all time. Like, it slayed every book that I have ever read, ever. Name of the Wind is at the top of my all-time favorites. So this has a really special place in my heart since it's a companion novel to that. And, yep, it's just gonna stay in a special place in my heart, unread, until future notice. Alright. American Panda! Isn't this cute? It is also contemporary, so maybe around the summer I'll read it. But like, the cover was just so cute, and I saw it in the bookstore, and just this little coffee, and I don't know, it was the cutest book ever, so I grabbed it. I don't really know what it's about. I think it's a girl going off to college and dealing with her cultural heritage and the expectations of her parents and all the things you deal with on your way off to college. So anyway, it just sounded cute and fun. Alright. Falling Kingdoms by Morgan Rhodes. So, okay, every single Morgan Rhodes cover is so unique and so cool and so interesting, and I really want to get to this. However, I've heard so many mixed reviews of the whole series, because I think every single book in the series is out at this point. And some of you guys are just like, oh, that book is good, but the next one is like, eh, and then I've heard like, the ending was, you know, so, but like, it's great for the first few, and then there's, you know, so I've heard like, woo, and I've heard, reviews, so I don't know, but the covers are so intriguing. Every time I see a Morgan Rhodes cover in a bookstore, I'm just like, oh gosh, I want to read that so bad, but I haven't yet. And we'll see when I get to it. It's not at the top. It's not at the top because I've heard so many wonky reviews. It's not at the top of my list right now. To Kill a Kingdom by Alexander Christo. So I'm super interested. I think it's about sirens or mermaids, or I heard it's really dark, and honestly, I love underwater stories, and I don't know if this is actually an underwater story. I grabbed it because I thought maybe it was like about mermaids and maybe there was underwater stuff going on, but I actually don't know if it's underwater. But it looks really good. It looks kind of spooky, actually. I heard it was kind of dark and spooky. So maybe around October I'll pick this one up. We'll see. Our Dark Duet by Victoria Schwab. Okay, so the world is breaking and so are they. I just saw that. That looked really intriguing. Anyway, so I read This Savage Song, which is the first book when it first came out. And it was really good and I liked it. But there are other Victoria Schwab books that I have liked better, such as like Vicious or A Darker Shade of Magic. So I liked it and I ran out and grabbed Our Dark Duet. And then I kind of lost interest because, well, Victoria Schwab is like an insta-buy author for me. Like, as soon as she writes something, I pretty much just go out and buy it because it's Victoria Schwab and I like so many of her books and I love her writing style, and I loved Vicious and I loved the Darker Shade of Magic series. It was so good. But This Savage Song, it was good, but I don't know. I've actually heard some mixed reviews about Our Dark Duet. Some people didn't really like it. And I really haven't heard like a good rave review about it. I haven't heard a review where somebody's like, yes, pick it up right now. So I don't know. I didn't pick it up right now. I just kind of left it on my shelf after I ran out and bought it. But maybe one day I'll get to it because I love Victoria Schwab and I love her writing style and I love most of the books that I've read by her. I've really, really loved. So can't be that bad, right? Alright, this is the first book in the Expanse series, Leviathan Wakes by James S.A. Corey. And this cover looks so cool, guys, but it is so long. This book is, well, maybe not that long. Maybe it looks a lot longer than it is. Oh, well, now I'm encouraged to read it because I found out that it's only like 560 pages. But it feels a lot bigger. It feels a lot bigger than it is. I mean, this is like, it looks thicker than Name of the Wind, like, on the shelf. And Name of the Wind was pretty big. So, I don't know. There's so much book here. Maybe it's not, maybe the pages are just thick. Maybe it's not as long as it feels like it is, but it feels like this book was just gonna be gigantic and take forever to read. So I haven't picked it up yet because I'm a little intimidated by its size. But we'll try it. I mean, I've read much longer books than this. I mean, I read Kingdom of Ash, like, recently, so I don't know. I think I need to pick it up soon, but yeah, I'm super interested in, I don't even know what it's about, but it's a whole series and people love it and everybody says it's good, so I'm super intrigued. The Unseen World by Liz Moore. So all I know about this is like it's a girl genius and her dad disappears and then she goes looking for him and there's magical elements. So sounded really, really intriguing, but I haven't gotten to it yet. Yep. Okay guys, so I read the first book in the Tierling series and I loved it, and then for some reason I didn't pick up the other two. Like, I read the first book like last year, and it's The Queen of the Tierling, and it's so beautiful and it was so well written and I loved it so much, and I have no idea why I haven't gotten to the next two yet. I just haven't, and that will be remedied soon. I'm hopefully going to read The Invasion of the Tierling and The Fate of the Tierling very, very soon. I think I kind of got spoiled for some stuff that was going to happen in this book because I was reading somebody's comment on a YouTube video and I got spoiled. And so I think maybe that's why I didn't pick it up, because I was just like, oh, really? But anyway, I don't know, maybe I'm not as spoiled as I think that I am. So we'll see. So I'll pick that up, and then I want to pick up the next one and finish out the series because the first book was so good. I loved it so much. So anyway, there's that. Legend by Marie Lu. So I read Warcross and by Marie Lu, and honestly I thought it was kind of eh. I think that was probably my fault because Warcross, I was so hyped up for it because it came out after Ready Player One, and it's kind of the same concept of like you're inside a video game thing, And I was like, oh my god, it's gonna be as good as Ready Player One! And then it wasn't, because Ready Player One is just Ready Player One. You can't really beat Ready Player One. So, but it was okay. It was kind of fun. I didn't like it that much. I don't know. I was a little bored with Warcross, not gonna lie. But I've heard that this series is way better, and I want to try it. I'm very interested. I'm very interested in seeing what else Mary Lou has to offer. And, alright. This final book we found, my husband actually found it in a little bargain book area. It is Pathfinder by Orson Scott Card, and both my husband and I loved Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card so much. So when my husband found this in like a bargain book area and he brought it home and he stuck it on my TBR shelf, he hasn't touched it, but he's like, hey, it's by Orson Scott Card, you'll love it, because we both love Ender's Game. So anyway, this is courtesy of my husband. I haven't gotten to it yet. Ooh, a bookmark just fell out of it. Look at that. The book wagon. I think that's where he found the book, actually. I think that was where the bargain bin was. Cool, we'll check that out. Anyway, so yeah, so this is a gift from my husband, and yeah, I'll pick it up eventually. I haven't seen any reviews or anything on it, so and I really have no idea what it's about, except that it's by Orson Scott Card. So anyway, that seems exciting. And the other things on my shelf are just like random notebooks and stuff, and here's my steampunk airship. I built this based on a YouTube tutorial from a YouTube channel called Lost Wax, and this guy shows you how to build these, and it's really cute. He's got a lot of cute little things. So that's my TBR shelf, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day. If you thought any of these books were interesting, let me know in the comments down below which ones you think I should pick up next. And thanks for watching. Bye!